Hello guys, like every time I just want to start off with a few basic rules. I'll be speaking mainly today about semi-formal letters versus informal letters, in which we are going to take a particular task which some people might say this could be a semi-formal letter, others might say it could be an informal letter. We will try to write both types. We will try to brainstorm. So we'll start with writing task 1 in IELTS specifically for general training. As we have already seen that in the format of the task 1, we usually have the situation at the beginning. This situation is nothing but the circumstances under which you are writing the letter. Then you have an addressee. Addressee is nothing but the person who is going to read the letter. And then we have 3 instructions after that. These 3 instructions are quite important and you must follow them. Instruction 4 and instruction 5 on the other hand won't change every time. Situation, addressee and 3 instructions would rather change every time. Instruction 4 would always be write at least 150 words. You do not need to write any addresses. And instruction 5 is begin your letter as follows. Dear sir or madam in this case, but every time this will as well change a bit how to begin the letter. So one thing that I would like to point out is this particular instruction, you do not need to write any addresses. What it means is basically whenever you are writing the letter, please do not mention anything which is traceable. In the sense, please avoid mentioning your email ID, your phone number or the actual postal address. You may absolutely write the road on which you live or by which you live or the area or the colony where you live in, but try and avoid writing a detailed postal address by which people can or the reader can reach you, because if you write any address, let's say phone number, email or the postal address, it can be taken as an attempt to influence the examiner. We have seen the general structure of the letter. We should be writing about 170 words approximately. We should have 3 paragraphs, introduction, not 3 paragraphs, I'm sorry, 3 parts, introduction, body paragraphs. In fact, we are going to write 3 body paragraphs and the end paragraph. So total, if we look at that, we would have total of 5 paragraphs, 1 for introduction, 3 body paragraphs and the end paragraph. Introduction helps us to establish the tone of the letter and it has approximately 30 words. On the other hand, body paragraphs are written to address the 3 main instructions. Each instruction gets its own body paragraph. Total, we write 110 words. That means including all 3 paragraphs, we have to write about 110 words. Then we have an end paragraph where we write the request, future contact and thanks, and lastly we sign off. Mainly future contact is a line or a sentence where we elaborate or we explain how we would like the reader to respond back to us. It could be in the form of letter, it could be in the form of some action, or it could be in the form of a meeting or a phone call. But you have to use the right tone or the right form of communication in the letter that you are writing. End paragraph would also have approximately 30 words. So let's begin with the evaluation criteria. There are 4 evaluation criteria: task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. Task achievements, for whether you have at least 150 words or not. There should not be any repetition of reasoning or ideas, and you should have the suitable tone of the letter. Coherence and cohesion, as far as coherence and cohesion is concerned, you need to have clear ideas which are organized logically, and there should be a natural flow in these ideas. Cohesion, on the other hand, is concerned with the overall structure, in the sense how is the transition from one idea to the other or one paragraph to the other. So there has to be clear-cut representation of the subtopics within the paragraph if you want to have the right cohesion. So let's go forward. let's talk about lexical resource. As far as lexical resource is concerned, you need to have range of words or rare repetition of words. Then you need to have the precision while using these words. Ensure that instead of chasing hi-fi vocabulary, you are specifically targeting the precise usage of the words or the apt usage of the words. Then you need to have typical phrases and collocations. Last time on 6th of November, we looked into some of the typical phrases that we can use in the formal as well as in semi-formal letters. Today we are going to compare these typical phrases to try and understand what is the difference between the semi-formal letters and informal letters. Collocations are nothing but the words that are used together more than usual. For example, it could be dire consequences. Now, consequences, whenever you are writing, if they are bad in case, you would write dire consequences instead of just writing bad consequences, because dire consequences is something that is used more often than not. That would be a collocation. And lastly, you need to have rare slips in words or spellings. If you write a particular spelling in such a way that it is not changing the meaning of the sentence, it is acceptable in IELTS. But if it is changing the meaning in case, IELTS is not going to treat it lightly. You will lose marks in lexical resource. Also, it is not the case that if you don't know spelling, you can just write anything. Probably, I mean, even if you don't know the spellings, the IELTS will ignore lack of spellings or incorrect spellings hardly 2 or 3 times, not more than that. So we'll come back to the point. Now let's talk about grammatical range and accuracy. As far as grammatical range and accuracy is concerned, we need to ensure that we have apt usage of tenses, and then we also have variety of sentence structures which are used accurately. Lastly, we need to ensure that we have appropriate punctuations. As far as punctuations are concerned, at least try to ensure that you can use the full stops and the commas well. Alright, now let's talk about the classification based on the situation and the addressee. If you look at the formal letters, we know that we write formal letters to unknown people, and these are the people who we rarely meet, and specifically we don't have any emotional connect or bond with these people. As far as informal letters are concerned, we write informal letters to friends, family and relatives. So these are the people who are actually, probably on the opposite spectrum, or to the people who we write formal letters. And informal letters, as we know, are written to all those whom we meet often, or at least wish to meet often, and we definitely have an emotional connect with these people. Lastly, semi-formal letters are written to known people. These are the people we meet often, but there is no emotional connect. So after looking at these definitions, we can definitely say that the formal letters are written to somebody who is at an authoritative position within your company or in a public office. Informal letters are written, as I already said, to friends, family and relatives, whereas semi-formal letters are written to the people who are working in office or who are living very nearby, but we don't have an emotional connect. This could be typically your immediate boss or your colleague or your counterpart. Now let's talk about the time management. We need to divide our task or our time into 3 phases. In stage 1, or in the phase 1, we need to think and brainstorm for about 4 minutes. We need to know all the points beforehand so that we can write them. Then in stage 2 or phase 2, we need to write the actual letter in about 13 minutes. And in stage 3, we need to edit it in about 3 minutes. Now, let's look at the typical structure of semi-formal letter. You must begin the letter as per the instruction. In the introduction, you will always have a short follow-up based on the situation. The situation is the first sentence that you will read on your paper or on your task 1, and that explains the circumstances under which you are writing the letter. After that, you will explain the reason for writing the letter or reason for the letter. Then you will have 3 body paragraphs. This is the actual letter, and you will address the 3 main instructions in individual paragraphs. Then in the end paragraph, you will request, you will write future contact and thank the person, and lastly you will sign off. On the other hand, in the typical format of the informal letter, in the introduction paragraph, you have a greeting and you have short follow-up from the situation. Remember, do not write, I am writing this letter to something. As far as informal letters are concerned, you need not write why are you writing the letter or the purpose of the letter as far as informal letters are concerned. Then you need to write 3 body paragraphs. These 3 body paragraphs address the 3 main instructions. Then again in the end you have request, future contact and thank. Typical sentences that you can use in these request, future contact and thank would change according to the tone of the letter, and that is actually very much true when it comes to semi-formal letters versus informal letters. At the end, as I've already said, we are going to look into these typical phrases that we can use. Alright. Now, what is the type of this particular task? Let me read it for you. You will always read this instruction. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. You can ignore it. And then you will see this particular instruction or the situation. You want to sell your television. You think a friend's friend might like to buy it from you. You write a letter to your friend or a friend's friend. In your letter, explain why you are selling the television, describe the television, suggest a date when your friend can come and see. You should write at least 150 words. Begin your letter as follows. See, the situation tells that you are going to write the letter to the friend's friend. Friend's friend would imply that this is a person who is an acquaintance. There is a chance that you might have met this person quite often because of your friend, and this person is also your friend. Or it could also happen that some people might think that, okay, I'm not very sure whether I'll have an emotional connect with my friend's friend or not, and that's why they might think that they should be writing semi-formal letter over here. Most of the people may write an informal letter, but still we will try and explore, even if you want to write a semi-formal letter in this particular situation, how we will write it. Understand, if somebody by mistake tries to write a semi-formal letter, in this case he is not or she is not going to be that wrong. It's just the question where would you have an emotional connect with this person or not. Now if somebody decides that yes, I would have an emotional connect, he may choose to write an informal letter. Or if somebody decides that no, I will not have any emotional connect with this person, that person may choose to write a semi-formal letter. There's no question of not knowing friend's friend. Alright, we'll move forward. So let's try and note down some points. Instruction 1 is explain why you are selling the television. Now I am writing my primary point as yes, because I am moving to Canada. Now this is where people have a lot of issues how to develop this point, because if I have only this primary point, I can't write much. I mean, imagine if you just have to write moving to Canada. Or make a sentence from this particular point. Many people would say that okay, I'm moving to Canada, and there's nothing after that, and that's when the people, I mean most of the students, have issues. So you need to ask these questions. These are very simple questions. You can simply ask, why am I moving to Canada? I'm moving to Canada because my PR application is acceptable. And second detail that I can ask is, when am I moving to Canada? Probably I'm moving there in first week of June. But this particular detail is not helping us to tell why you are selling the television. So you need to write the next point. Cannot carry all belongings. So what? I am selling my belongings. Still we have not come to the TV part, and now we will come. I am not carrying any TV. So what? You may buy. You means the friend's friend to whom you are writing the letter. I hope you are realizing that asking these questions to the primary points will help you to explain these details. Now, not only explain these details, to realize or to understand what kind of sentence structure you must form in such cases. Then the next instruction is describe the television. I simply write Samsung TV. I write, ask myself how big. I say 32 inches. Alright. Here there's an issue. Many people try to explain too many things about the TV or about the object that is given over there. Many people write, okay, it's a 332 inches LED or OLED TV with surround sound and DVDs and this and that and whatnot. What happens because of that? You just have too many details. You can't put all of the details in one sentence, or you might, but many times it happens that you cannot fit them in one sentence, and it looks like an attempt to increase the number of words. Try and avoid such things. You can simply ask the next part, or you can simply say that it also has a USB, so what, you can insert pen drive for music, and it has great speakers. So try and build some reasoning based on the features that you're talking about. So this is a simple Samsung TV of 32 inch. It has a USB, so what, you can insert a pen drive for music because it has, as well as it has great speakers. So you are trying to help your friend's friend to understand the main features of the TV. You're not bombarding that person with each and every detail. Is that fine? Now we'll go to the third instruction. The third instruction is suggest a date when your friend can come and see it. You can say, I'm leaving country on first week of June. So what? Meet ASAP. Now ASAP I have put because I was just thinking at that point of time. Don't write ASAP in the actual IELTS letters, because these are not standard acronyms or short forms, in simple words. And if you write non-standard acronyms or short forms in the letters, there is a very good chance that the traditional examiner may cut your marks in lexical resource. So if you write it in the brainstorming, that doesn't harm you, but while converting it into a sentence, please ensure that you don't write such things into, or you don't carry such things into the actual letter. So meet ASAP, probably on 20th or 21st of May. Now I have not assumed on which day I am writing this particular letter, so I've just assumed something that okay, 20th to 21st of May would be a fine time to meet. So we'll spend a day together. Why? Because maybe we can meet a bit later, or probably it would be a bit late when we will meet again, because I'm going to Canada. So it may happen that we may meet a bit later, and that's why I want to do that. And lastly, if you don't like my TV, so what? So what can I do? I can ask at least others if they want it. Okay, so again, these questions help you to understand how to develop the details. Why do we need details? First of all, we need details so that we can put some logical points and explain the primary points. Secondly, we need them because using the details and primary points, we can always form complex and compound structures which have relations like cause and effect, reason and result, or action and reaction, or some conditions. All right, so this is going to help us to write the letter. So what do we write in the introduction paragraph of the semi-formal letter? We take a short follow-up from the situation and the purpose of writing the letter. See, The situation is you have to write the letter, or you are thinking that probably a person, a friend's friend that I met uh, probably some time ago, or I know, is interested in buying the television. So I begin with Dear Tom. Remember, if you remember the task, okay, just let me remind you. I have been asked to begin the letter with Dear Blank. Understand, semi-formal and informal letters invariably would have this kind of beginning, Dear Blank. So I begin my letter with Dear Tom. Again, please ensure that you have a typical name to start off such letters and repeat it every time, so that you don't waste time in thinking about what kind of name you should be writing in the actual IELTS. If you waste your time in the actual IELTS deciding the name, you're just harming yourself and your chances of scoring them. So dear Tom, I'm sure you remember me as we met last week at our mutual friend Sam's birthday. Probably it should be, since it is at, it should also have birthday party. Alright. So see, I'm assuming that okay, we have met at our mutual friend Sam's birthday party. Based on our discussion, I am writing to find out whether you would be interested in buying a hardly used TV. Now, why am I writing the purpose of writing the letter? Because I am writing the semi-formal letter. I cannot be completely informal because this person, I'm not very sure, is my friend. But I know this person for sure. So I would be writing based on our discussion. Discussion, which discussion? Probably you must have talked, right? When you met. And then you had that discussion. So based on our discussion, I'm writing to find out whether you would be interested in buying a hardly used set. Second thing to notice over here is I am saying I am writing to find out. I am not very formal in this case. I am a bit casual as well. I'm writing to find out. So this could be a bit semi-formal, or in some cases it could be an informal as well. This way of writing, it's not very polite, but it's not something that can be put into informal letters for sure. Now let's come to instruction 1, body paragraph 1. We will try to put the primary points and the details into the body paragraphs. I would say, as my permanent residency application is in Canada is accepted, I am moving there in the first week of June. So if you just look at this particular sentence, you will realize you can also write it if you clearly look at these two questions, why and when. So I was talking about this first particular primary point and its details as my permanent residency. So this particular sentence starts with as, explains the reason from my permanent residency application in Canada is accepted, and after comma it explains the effect or the result, reason and the result. What is the result? I am moving there in the first week of June. Alright. So how could I write this sentence comfortably? I could write this sentence comfortably because I look at this particular question why. This is the reason and this is the result. So I can comfortably say, as my permanent residency application in Canada is accepted, I am moving there in the first week of June. While migrating, now see, look at this particular case. Oh, okay, before I go on to the second primary point, I want to add one more thing. This when, is just small detail, and I have not formed a separate sentence for this. I've tried to accommodate that particular detail in the same sentence in which I have accommodated these 2 points, or the primary point and the detail. So don't write unnecessarily if you have an extra detail. It's a good thing that you have an extra detail, but you did not form a separate sentence for that particular thing. Alright, now I look at this primary point which says I cannot carry all belongings. So what? I'm selling them. While migrating, I cannot take my belonging with me, and so I was looking if anyone from my social circle would be interested in buying them. So one very important thing to remember over here is that I am saying that someone from or anyone from my social circle. I'm not saying typically my friends would buy it, so that you show to the examiner as well as to the reader that you don't consider this person, the friend's friend, to be your friend, but somebody who you know. That's it. Okay. Also, when you are looking at this particular sentence, you use this so to indicate the result of what you have said in the previous part of the sentence or before and. Now coming to the next primary point, you are saying that I am not carrying TV. So what? So I think you may buy. One of the items I do not want to take with me is my television, and I thought you might like to buy it off from me. Okay, this should be buy it off from me. One thing that I would like to talk about, just what just happened over here. This letter, I tried to write it today. I did not, try too hard to correct it, and it could happen that sometimes you may also miss these things in the actual IELTS, and that's why you should always reread what you have written. You must keep some space, some time for this editing in the actual exam as well. Alright, so let's go to instruction 2, body paragraph 2. So first primary point is it's Samsung TV, how big? It is 32-inch. So don't write something like it is a Samsung TV of which is of 32 inches. Don't do that. Okay, you can simply write it's a 32 inches flat screen TV and it's a Samsung model. Or even if you can make it even more subtle, flat screen Samsung TV. That would be even better. Understand, you have enough number of words because you have got enough number of points. It's a 32 inches flat screen Samsung TV. It has a USB port. So I'm getting into the next point. It has USB port. You can insert pen drive for music, great speakers. So it has a USB port, so you can just plug in pen drive to watch movies or listen to music. Now while writing, I realized that who plugs in the pen drive just for music, that too on television. So I have added a bit, but I have not added too much as well. I have not changed my brainstorming too much, but logically I realized while writing that who puts a pen drive in a TV to listen to music? Probably it could be to watch the movies. It has great stereo surround sound. Okay, now instead of, I have made my point that you can watch movies or listen to music. So this particular sentence is talking about the uses. Now if I talk within uses, if I try and talk about its feature, it would be a bit absurd. So I have put this idea in a separate sentence. Just to form complex sentence, don't push these two sentences together. This sentence, the second sentence, is more about how you can use the TV, and the third sentence is more about its features. When you're talking about features, don't talk about the usage. When you're talking about the usage, don't talk about the features. Separate the ideas wherever necessary. Here, both these sentences, the second and the third sentence, both are talking about TV. Is that correct? Yes, one thing. Second thing, do you have a synonym for TV? No, right? So the point is, if it is not irritating, like many times repetition seems very irritating, but in this case it seems that you don't have any other option in the given time period. So it's perfectly fine to do that. Okay, now if you ask me what could have been even ideal, okay, you can simply say, you can make a sentence over here now. It's a 32-inch flat screen TV with great, see, it's a 32 inches flat screen Samsung TV with great stereo surround sound. It has a USB port, so you can just plug in a pen drive to watch movies or listen to music. Alright, this could have been the ideal case, but you can reach somewhere here only if you have time to edit. Okay, now second thing I'll tell you, the original sentence structure was not that bad, and if you are not writing on with a computer and you're writing this particular test using a paper, it would be wise not to make such a huge change, because you will create a lot of mess. It is not going to definitely hamper your score to the level where you will have to reappear for the test. So let's just let it be. Is that fine? Yeah. Now coming to the third body paragraph, suggest a date when your friend can come and see it. So you can say leaving the country in first week of June. So what? Meet ASAP or meet as soon as possible. You can say, as already noted, I am leaving the country in first week of June. If you remember, you have already talked about it in the first body paragraph, which is only 2 weeks away. It would be best to meet on 20th or 21st. Now this happened because I was not keeping my eyes on my brainstorming table. Now if it is not damaging you that much, it could happen, it's acceptable, but just try and ensure that you can actually convert the points as accurately as possible from the given brainstorming diagram. That way we can spend some time together before I shift. Now see, spend a day together. See, I don't want to spend a day together with a person who exactly is not a friend. He or she is a friend's friend. Alright, so when I'm writing, I modify myself. I say that okay, we can spend some time together rather than spending the day together. Also, it will, not I will, it will give me, I'm sorry, okay. It will give me some time to sell it elsewhere in case you are not interested. That means if you come on 20th or 21st, it will help me so that I can sell it to somewhere or sell it somewhere else if you are not interested. So you are talking about a condition in this case, which can be built, or the sentence can be built quite easily from by looking at if and so. Now to end this particular letter, you can simply say, I request you to confirm our meeting. So you're a bit direct, at the same time you are a bit polite still. I am awaiting your response. I'm not saying, you're not saying I'm awaiting your kind response or your valuable response. You're not very polite. At the same time, you are not very, rather, you are polite, but you are not very indirect as well. And then you say, thanking you, kind regards, Will Hardy. Always sign off the semi-formal letter with kind regards if you have started the letter with dear Tom, that is dear first name. Is that fine? Right. So now we will try and write an informal letter and compare it with the semi-formal letter. Alright. On left hand side you will see the semi-formal letter. On the right hand side you will see the main changes that are there as far as informal letter is concerned. So on the right hand side I have put the informal letter. Alright. How do you begin in informal letter? You always have greetings, which is nothing but how are you, and then you write a follow-up from the situation. So you say, how are you? Dear Tom, how are you? I'm sure you remember me as we met last week at our mutual friend Sam's birthday party. Again, you can write that over there. On the other hand, over here we have just situation and the reason for writing the letter. See, we are not coming, or we are not talking about the reason for writing the letter in the introduction, since we think that this friend's friend is also our friend, or since I think, or you may think that this friend's friend is also my friend. Alright, so because of that I just write, dear Tom, how are you? The greetings and the follow-up from the situation. I'm sure you remember me as we met last week at our mutual friend Sam's birthday party. Let's come to body paragraph 1. In this case, you have said, as my permanent residency application in Canada is accepted. So you're going very formal. You can begin this particular letter. When it comes to informal letter, you can simply say, you know, as my permanent residency application in Canada is accepted, I'm moving there in the first week of June. This typical you know suggests again that this particular person has a very friendly relationship with you. Alright, and then when it comes to the next sentence, you are saying, you are writing, while migrating I can't take all my belongings with me, so I was looking if anyone from my friends or if anyone among my friends would be interested in buying them. Among actually is better over here in this case, so I'll just change that. Among my friends would be interested in buying them. One of the things I do not want to take with me is my television, and I thought you might like to buy it off from me again. So I'm not correcting that, we have already corrected that long ago. So it should be just buying, might like to buy it from me. Alright, then we come to body paragraph 2. Body paragraph 2 in this case is just description of the television. So there is hardly any noticeable change, or there is no change in fact when it comes to informal letters compared with the semi-formal letter. Alright, exactly, you can write the same because it's just description of television and nothing else. Alright, and then the body paragraph 3. Again, as you know, I am leaving the country in the first week of June, which is only 2 weeks away. I have again introduced the beginning, which is a bit casual. Alright, it would be best to meet on 20th or 21st. That way we can spend the day together before I shift. So since you think that this person is also your friend, you may write that you would like to spend the whole day with this person before you are shifting. Also, I will get some time to sell it elsewhere in case you are not interested. Okay, and now come to the end paragraph. Now, if you look at this semi-formal letter we have written, I request you to write to confirm our meeting. I'm awaiting your response. In this case, you're saying, let me know when can you come home. Call me if possible. Thanks. So you can see the drastic change in the end paragraph over here. It should be, I'm right to confirm. I request you to write to confirm. That will be fine. Or I am requesting you to let it be. This is fine. And when you look at these two sentences or these two paragraphs, you will realize that there is a drastic change. Since you consider this person, the person who is going to read the informal letter, to be your friend, you can be very casual and very direct about everything. You can simply say, let me know when you can come home. Call me if possible. Thanks. Warm regards. Well, in this case, you are a bit indirect, very polite compared to this one. All right. So you may realize that majority of the difference lies in the introduction as well as the end paragraph as far as semi-formal and informal letters are concerned. Alright, so these are the typical differences that you can have when it comes to semi-formal versus informal. As far as semi-formal is concerned, opening could be dear name or dear Mr. Mrs. whatever the name is. Understand, this is the last name that we are talking about, then this is the first name. And as far as informal letters are concerned, it's always hello first name or dear first name. First contact, I would like to know about. As I said, don't write I am writing to. You may write if you have to, I would like to find about, or I would like to share, or I was wondering if you could, would you mind, or do you think you could. Now, these are the things we don't have to write in our introduction because we have already said that the second sentence, first sentence will be the greetings and second sentence will be just simple short follow-up from the situation. So we actually don't need this particular way of writing. You could use this in the rest of the letter if the paragraph demands or if the letter task demands. If you want to refer to the previous contact, you may simply say in semi-formal letters, thank you for your letter dated this. In informal, since you are writing to your friend, you can be even more direct. You can say received your message dated this. Again, remember, these are typical phrases that we use, and this is the comparison between rather in those phrases that we use to write semi-formal letters as well as informal letters. This is not any form or this is not any format of writing these letters. All right. Then if you want to give good news, you can say, as far as semi-formal is concerned, I have great news about this. When it comes to informal, you can simply say great news and then write that news particularly. If you want, you can take the screenshots right now, or probably I'll be sharing this particular recording quite soon with you guys. If you want to give bad news, you can say I regret to inform that. If you want to write, same thing in informal letters, you can say just sorry, or I am afraid I have some bad news. Again, be very direct, be very straightforward. Then making an offer, as far as semi-formal letters are concerned, you would say, would you like me to, or would you like us to? All right. And informal letters, it could be, shall I do this for you, or can I do this for you, or whatever. Making a request, again, as far as semi-formal letters would be, would you please send me. And informal, you can simply say I am interested in obtaining, receiving, something like that. All right. As far as refusing an invitation is concerned, you can be a bit impolite. I mean, bit impolite, but you can be very impolite over here, not an issue. As far as semi-formal is concerned, you can say I will not be able to come. You can simply say I cannot come. Apologizing, when it comes to that, you have to write completely I'm sorry about, or please forgive me for. You can simply say sorry, but, or apologies, but I am sure you will understand. Complaining as well, I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction with, or I'm writing to express my annoyance with. That could be an semi-formal letter. When it comes to informal letter, you can simply say I'm not happy about, or that was particularly very disappointing. In closing remarks, if you want to write that, you can say if you have any questions, contact, or if you require more information or further details, please contact this. Here in informal letter, you can simply say call me or mail me in case needed. Referring to future contact, when it comes to semi-formal letter, you can simply say looking forward to hearing from you. As far as informal letters are concerned, you can say see you soon, or again something like that. Thanking you could be thanks could be thanking you. Simply in this case, informal letters, you can write thanks, thank you very much. Thank you very much is not exactly informal, but that is very much needed when you're writing in case to any elder. For example, you're writing to some aunt or uncle in your family. At that point of time, thank you very much could be used. But apart from that, if you're writing to someone who is your age, or who is your friend, I'm a bit junior to you, you need not write thank you very much in that case. Attachments, in case of attachments, you can simply write, as far as semi-formal letters are concerned, I'm attaching. Informal letters, you can simply write attached. As far as sign off is concerned, you can sign off with yours sincerely or kind regards, depending on how you have begun the letter. As far as semi-formal letters are concerned, you can simply say warm regards or love. Right. So this is the end of today's webinar.